Amazingly, it is almost 2026, and that means it is almost time for TBRATHON. Every year in January is one of my favorite readathons, TBRATHON, and it's hosted by my friend Leandra from Leandra the TBR Zero. And the reason I love TBRATHON so much is there is so many ways to participate, and it's really customizable to how you want to participate in the readathon. Leandra makes game boards and different challenges, and there's usually like 3 or 4 different activities you can partake in and choose which one works the best for you, for what you have going on in the month, or for whatever kind of reader you are. And this year, Leandra has decided to add a year-long challenge as part of what you can participate in. You can just do it for the month, or you can do a year-long challenge with her every single month. And that is how I've chosen to participate in TBRathon this year. Plus, I'm using the game board, the Lost in the Library game board, to pick my 12 reads for the year, because you can't give me a game board and I not play it. So my goal with this is to do 12 spins, 12 dice rolls of the board, see what books or activities I get, and that is what I will do the first weekend of every month when Leandra has a little TBR-a-thon weekend on the first weekend of every single month. And I will work on this TBR through the entire year, one first weekend at a time. But obviously, I need to know what the TBR-a-thon, what the Lost in the Library board has in store. So let's dive into the rolls and see what kind of chaos this board is going to bring to my year. So I've decided to start in the nonfiction space because realistically, I don't read a lot of nonfiction. So I don't foresee myself heading towards this corner at any given time. So I think it makes sense to start here and work my way out. Let's do our first roll. And I got a 3. And I think let's go with 1, 2, 3, Indigenous author. So for the first roll, we got the prompt of Indigenous author. And I thought, why pick one author when you could have a short story collection of many authors? And I'm finally going to read Never Whistle at Night. This is an anthology of multiple short stories, all written by Indigenous authors. And I do think there is a horror element to this, which may be odd that that's why I have it on my shelves. But honestly, just something about this has always had me looking at it, keeping my eye on it. And I'm really excited to finally pick this up in January because my goal is to read these in the order to which I roll them. So the first roll will be my January weekend, the second roll will be my February weekend, etc., etc. Since this is a short story collection, I can't really give you a synopsis of what it's about because it's like many different stories with many different synopses. But it is an Indigenous dark fiction anthology. That's what it says right on the front. And I'm really excited to finally dive into this. It's been on my TBR for over a year. Roll number 2 is a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Adult fiction. I had to really think about which direction I was going to go there because both were really good options. So for our second roll, we ended up getting adult fiction. And since I'll be reading this in February, I really like to read romance books in February because it's Valentine's Day and it just feels right to me. So I decided to pick up a contemporary romance for this, and I'm going to be reading Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is an author I have been meaning to try. I actually had this on my spring TBR and I didn't get to it. So now we're gonna do it as part of this year-long challenge. This follows a sports reporter and a TV meteorologist who both work at, is that what it is? Yes, that both work at the same like news station. And they fall in love, which sounds like an HR problem, but you know, in books, it's fine. Roll number 3 is a 3. And I'm gonna go with 1, 2, 3. Out of your comfort zone. So for our third roll, I got out of my comfort zone and I was looking at my shelves and I was like, what do I have that's out of my comfort zone? And I saw the only middle grade that I currently have on my TBR. I used to read middle grade a lot more a few years ago, and I really haven't picked it up in the last 2 to 3 years. So this one's been sitting for a while and now it's time to finally read it. It is fantasy and it does have dragons, so it's not too far out of my comfort zone, but I definitely just do not read middle grade anymore. So it is out of my comfort zone because of that. And I have this beautiful red sprayed edges edition. I am excited to finally get to this. Again, a lot of these books have been on my TBR for a little bit of time. So in this book, we follow Christopher, and Christopher finds a struggling baby griffin and actually saves it. And that is the day he finds out about magic and finds this island of magical creatures. And he finds another girl, Mal, who also is on this island. And the magic is starting to fade. So Christopher and Mal go on a journey to discover why the magic is fading and saving the creatures that live on this island.
Roll number 4 is a 2. And I think we have to head towards manga or graphic novel.
For our 4th roll, we got manga or graphic novel. I will be doing a graphic novel by Molly Knox Ostertag, The Deep Dark. I have read almost every single one of Molly Knox Ostertag's books. I have enjoyed all of them. Highly, 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 highly recommend the graphic novels by this author. And I've had this one sitting on my shelf since I think June, and it's been sitting there and I just haven't gotten to it. It just hasn't been the right time. It is a chunkier graphic novel, but it still will be a quick read because it is a graphic novel. In this graphic novel, we follow Magdalena, and Magdalena is about to graduate high school, but she has felt like an adult for some time. She's had a lot of responsibilities put on her at a very young age. Her grandmother is ailing and she is taking care of her ailing grandmother. She already has a part-time job and a lot of other things going on, including a big secret that she cannot let out because it is very dangerous. And in the past, it was let out once and it had disastrous consequences. And that's what we follow in this graphic novel. And one thing it says is everyone has a secret. Max's has teeth. So I'm interested to see what this big secret is that Mags has.
Roll number 5 is another 3. And let's go for 2026 goal.
For 2026 goal, I decided to pull from one of my other year-long challenges. I've been talking about this everywhere. This is the year of the year-long challenge, and I am participating in probably too many of them, but you know what? I'm going to have a fun year doing it and trying my best. And I have a few bingo boards to pick from. This one is from my mystery thriller bingo board. I will link that TBR if you want to go see what 25 mystery thrillers I'm going to be reading next year, in the hopes of reading every single one of the mystery thrillers on my TBR. I'm hoping to read them all this year. And the first one that I'm going to be reading, the first one on that bingo board, I just decided to pick the very first one, is The Other Black Girl. This is by Zakia Dahlia Harris. And I know this is super popular here on BookTube, and I just haven't gotten to it. I got it last December in my advent calendar. Haven't read it all year. So I put it on 2 challenges to make sure it gets read this year because I think I'm going to really enjoy this book. And I think it's going to really make me think and really give me something to think about because I'm sure the commentary in here is chef's kiss. So what basically I know about this book is what I've heard kind of online. And it follows a publishing company where there's only one Black person who works there. So it definitely looks at diversity in the workplace throughout this book. And all of a sudden, there's now a new hire who is a second Black person coming to work here. And all of a sudden, things start happening. And I think it's very much like a Get Out type of vibe if you've seen that movie. So I think that's what's happening in here. I'll find out as I read it, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of the general idea of this book.
Roll number 6 is a 1, and we're going to go with TBR book.
For TBR book, I am going to be putting on the newest addition to my TBR. I had a little Santa elf arrive from my wish list from one of my patrons, Andrea, and it came with The Wishing Game by Meg Schaffer. This is a book that's been on my Goodreads TBR for quite some time because it was quite popular a year or so ago on BookTube. And it is magical realism, which is a subgenre that I really do usually appreciate. So in this book, we follow Lucy, and Lucy is a teacher's aide who loves reading, and she would love to adopt Christopher, who is one of her former students. And her favorite series is by Jack Masterson called The Clock Island Books. All of a sudden, this author announces he's writing his very last book. and there's going to be a contest at his home to win the only copy of this book. So her and Christopher venture to this man's house, very similar to like the golden ticket, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and some magical things are happening in this contest to win this book. I have a feeling this one may also tug at my heartstrings, and you know that I love to have a book cry.
Roll number 7 is a 3 and gets me 5-star prediction.
For 5-star prediction, I went and looked at the video I made only a few months ago with a bunch of 5-star predictions. Again, I'll link that one below as well. And I've read a good portion of those in the last few months. I was patting myself on the back actually as I was watching it because I was like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. But there are some that I haven't read yet. One of them being Stranger Skies by Pascal Lassalle. This is the sequel to Curious Tides, which I was obsessed with and for some reason have not continued with. I don't know. I can't explain it. And I'm currently a little bit cursed on sequels. You'll understand soon. Vlogs are coming soon and you will see that sequels have been letting me down. Lately, for the last few months, I've been DNFing sequels like nobody's business. The graveyard of series that is in my wake is a plethora of series. So I think I've been nervous to pick this one up because I may not like it. But we're going to hope that maybe this one is the one that breaks the curse. Maybe it is. Although hopefully the curse will be broken by the time I read this because I'm going to be reading this in like, what month am I reading this in? July? I had to look. I'm going to be reading this in July. Hopefully my curse will be broken by July. Anyway, this is a dark academia series that follows a school where all the students have magic and their magic is linked to the moon and the tides. So their magic comes to them based off whatever moon phase they are born under. So there's people who are born under a full moon, an eclipse, who have very powerful magic, etc., etc. And they also influence the tides. A year before, and this is the first book I'm talking about. I'm not going to tell you the synopsis of the second book. I'm talking about Curious Tides at this point. A year before, something really tragic happened. A bunch of students went into a water, kind of like an ocean cave, and most of them drowned and their bodies were never found. There was one survivor. She's now coming back to school in the first book, starting her new school year, trying to move on, when all of a sudden her friends start washing ashore and they're not dead. A lot happens in that first book, a lot. And we do leave on a cliffhanger. So again, why I have not continued, I do not know. I really found the magic system really fascinating in the first book. I expect it to continue in this one. I also really like the dark academia vibes because you know I like dark academia. So there was a lot of things I really appreciated about this series and I have no idea. I don't know why I haven't read it yet.
Roll number 8 is a 3. And I think I'm going to go over here and get in a hobby because I would love to work in a hobby for one weekend. And we do have a lot of books going on the TBR.
So for our 8th roll, I got hobby break. I don't need to pick a book. I will be doing a hobby the first weekend of the month in whatever the 8th month is. August? Yes, the 8th month is August. Goodness gracious. Anyway, I will be doing a hobby, so I will not be picking a book for this prompt. I will most likely listen to an audiobook while I do that hobby, but it doesn't have to be a specific book on this TBR.
Roll number 9 is a 1. Let's do TBR book.
For our 9th book, we got another TBR book, and I'm going to be reading a book that I was actually really sad I didn't get on my romantasy bingo board, and that is For Whom the Bell Tolls by J.C. Lynn. This book has been talked about all over, and I know so many people who gave this 5 stars. It also takes place in hell. Do you need any other reason for me to read this book? No, you don't. No, you don't. You know I love books set in hell, the afterlife, dealing with that kind of motif. You know I love it. And this book does that. And again, I've heard nothing but 5-star reviews. Honestly, everyone who I know who has read this has given it 5 stars. So I need to read this book.
Roll number 10 is a 3. Let's do 1, 2, 3. Gets me another TBR book.
So you are going to notice as we head into what I will be reading in the fall that I decided to lean into a setting of books that I really enjoy. And for this TBR book, I've decided to read The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones. I love a magical woods setting. I truly, truly adore it. So you're going to see a couple of them coming up, because I really want to get back into this setting. I haven't read a magical woods in, I think, a year. Honestly, it's been a minute, and it's one of my favorite settings. I just love the richness of a magical woods, and I have quite a few on my TBR, and I really want to fall back in love with a setting that I know I really just adore. Myrrh is the last living water diviner because she is now on the run from a prince who held her captive and caused her to kill hundreds of people with her magic, leaving her to be the last surviving one. Now someone has come to her with a bargain. Work with them to bring down the prince that once made her do all these horrible things. And she uses quite the motley crew to do this. And one of them in the synopsis is a corgi that may or may not be a spy. If there's a talking corgi in here, I truly will have found my joy, because you know I love a side creature. So a magical woods and a side creature, say less. Also, it does also call this a dark fairy tale. Could there be a better book for me? I don't think there could be. Why is this still sitting on my shelves?
Roll number 11 is a 1. We're going to do another 5-star prediction.
We got another 5-star prediction. So I went back to that video, watched it some more, saw what else I haven't read yet. And we have The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. This is a magical library. I love that we're getting into like settings and tropes that I adore and getting back into them with this TBR. I feel like these are settings that in years past I've read a lot of, and last year, not so much. And I feel like I'm going to rediscover those this year, and that's making me really, really excited. I also think that there's a little bit in this book of like disrupting the system, like overturning a system. I don't know if that's actually true, but I feel like that might be a little bit of what happens throughout this trilogy. And I've heard, again, nothing but great things, which is why I put it on as a 5-star prediction.
Roll number 12 is a 3, 1. Ooh, which way do I want to go? I think 2, 3. Spell read with the title and author.
And for our last prompt, we got spell R-E-A-D in the title or the author. I didn't even need the author. The title does it all. And that is Where the Dark Stands Still, another magical woods book. This book has been a Goodreads Choice nominee since I purchased this. I bought this when no one knew what this was. It was released. I went to the bookstore. I didn't even know it existed. I saw this cover sitting on the bookstore shelves, saw Magical Woods, and bought it. And then everyone started talking about how great this book was. And for some reason, I didn't read it right away. Like, I don't know. This happens. I'm trying to change it. With my new rules around book buying, this would not happen. But 2 years ago, it did. So I can spell R-E-A-D with R. I should point at the right letter. R-E-A-D. Where in Dark has them all. So in this book, we follow Liska, and Liska knows that magic is monstrous. She, however, has magic and would like to not have it anymore. So she descends into a demon-infested forest to find a flower that if consumed or done something with, she can ask for like one wish and she's going to use it to banish her powers. She does find the demon warden who has access to this flower, and she has to do a bargain, which is a year of service in order to get the flower, and we follow her story from there. But that is the end of my journey through the Lost in the Library board. By the end of the year, I will have gotten out of the library, I guess, in theory, and I will be reading these again on every one of the TBRathon weekends. 11 books, 1 activity. I think I can do this. I'm very excited about every single book on this TBR. Are you participating in TBRathon? You're going to have to let me know what board, what activity you're doing down in the comments. If you're interested to see how these weekends are going to go and you want to see me read this TBR, make sure you subscribe so you can watch me as the months go on and I tackle this big stack of books that I just made. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video but have nothing to comment down below but want to let me know you made it all the way to the end of the video, leave a tree emoji for my forest books at the end of the year. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.